Everyone fears it. We all have been impacted by it in some way. The word is spoken in hushed tones. Cancer. In the world today, cancer's 5-year survival rate for leukemia patient is around 90%. In the 1930s and 40s, the survival rate was significantly lower. The change in statistics is due to the unsung hero Dr. Sidney Farber. Dr. Sidney Farber positively changed the cancer community, and his impact is still felt around the world today by the 18.1 million people worldwide who are told they have cancer. While still maintaining a normal home life as a dedicated husband and father, he made major medical breakthroughs in the field of leukemia. His research was not solely focused on leukemia, but also on the benefits of treating the entire patient, which he named total patient care. Sidney Farber is known as the father of modern chemotherapy. He was born in 1903 in Buffalo, New York, to his Jewish parents Simon and Matilda Farber. He was the third oldest of 14 kids. In 1918, Farber was 15 when a huge flu epidemic hit his hometown, resulting in more than 2,500 residents being killed. Devastated by this event, he decided to dedicate his future to the medical field. He received an undergraduate degree from New York State University at Buffalo. Since the United States put a quota on how many Jewish students could enter medical school, Farber did not attend medical school in the States, at least in the beginning. Thank goodness he was capable of speaking fluent German, which allowed him to attend the University of Heidelberg in Germany, where he excelled. Farber then transferred to Harvard Medical School as a second-year student, where he graduated in 1927. Shortly after this, he married Norma Holzman in 1928. Later on in his career, he was an instructor at Harvard Medical School. At this same time, he was the first full-time pathologist to be at the Children's Hospital. His work was focused on the exploration of childhood leukemia. During this time, he soon realized that leukemia was one of the most common cancers causing the death of children. Up until this point, leukemia was known as the ultimate killer, and survival in children was slim to none. Farber dreamed of finding a new cure since neither radiation nor surgical removal had worked. His hypothesis was if he could figure out how normal blood cells were generated, he could prevent abnormal blood cells from forming. His laboratory and resources were limited, but that didn't stop him from being persistent. In 1947, Farber heard of a compound that prohibits cancer growth. His investigation led to one of medical history's best discoveries, actinomycin D, which is still used to this day. It is a chemotherapy medication. He found many more treatments, including one to effectively cure Hodgkin's lymphoma due to the fact that it killed cancer cells. This substance was nitrogen mustard. Nitrogen mustard was used for chemical warfare during World War I. However, Dr. Farber found when used in certain amounts, it could actually be beneficial to suffering patients. Dr. Farber was a wise man. He knew not only do these families need help treating their sick children, but also what he called total care, which is to help with psychological, emotional, and social well-being. He wanted families to be able to come to one place and be able to receive counseling, clinical care, social work, plus many more services. Dr. Farber was truly ahead of his time when it comes to total patient care. He was not only the father of modern chemotherapy, but also of his 4 children. He was a dry sense of humor kind of guy, but also a very admiring kind of dad. He never brought his work into the home and never pushed for his kids to continue on his journey or even enter the medical field. Instead, he pushed them to be the best at what they wanted to be. Dr. Farber and his wife Norma had mutual respect for each other's work. Norma never nagged about him being away from home or working long hours. She understood that what her husband was doing was literally changing the world. Norma would have a second supper with Sidney after he arrived at home from work, usually late at night. This was their time as a couple to eat together, talk about their day, and exchange stories.
Can't remember if my father had any hobbies. He did like to take walks with my mother, and that was, something they could do. And uh,
One of Dr. Farber's passions was social justice in the form of medical care. Again, he was ahead of his time and often spoke about the need to have medical care available to all, no matter their race or income level. Dr. Farber was among the first to start the conversation about universal health care.
I think what my father would be doing now, if he were alive, would be fighting for more social justice in the form of medical care. We have a very rich country, but often a very rough country, and sometimes a very ungenerous country. My father, who came one of 14 children of immigrants, he never took a private patient. He had an academic salary. Uh, he had no second home, no second car. His kids went to public school. In that sense, he was a model for what people can do who want to care for others. Yeah.
Dr. Farber was known for staying connected to his patients and having top-tier bedside manner. One example is Dr. Farber treated a 3-year-old boy in 1955 with his groundbreaking life-prolonging treatments for Hodgkin's lymphoma and got in contact with him 10 years later. The boy was happy, healthy, and disease-free. Sidney called the boy Jimmy to protect his identity at the time. This relationship between doctor and patient eventually led to the creation of the Jimmy Fund Clinic and fundraiser. The funding they receive goes to the lifelong mission of the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute in Boston, named after Dr. Farber, which is to provide compassionate patient care and groundbreaking cancer research for children and adults. It has also contributed to 35 of the 75 cancer drugs that have been developed that are FDA approved. All of this would not be possible if it weren't for the amazing Dr. Farber. With his discoveries, people are continuing to beat cancer and prolong their lives. The next time you hear someone mention cancer, remember the man behind modern chemotherapy and how he continues to give everyone with cancer